The morning coffee ritual. Oh, look at that. Oh, nice. Oh, I don't know what I'm making there. Some nondescript pattern, let's just call it a monster. Morning, brothers. Welcome to my morning. I thought I'd kick this straight in the guts. I've slept in, it's about 7 o'clock now. I've been up only for half an hour. Normally I get up a lot earlier. Oh shit, that's good. Gonna sit down here, park up, and share my little bit of the day with you guys. It starts off, I'll just pan around and show you the kitchen. It's not exactly tidy and like most kitchens. It's got fishing stuff all over it. Down here I've got, I've been making up actually jigs. I've got a little box, I've got my jigs, and I made some up yesterday. It took me about an hour just to tie them. Pretty much they're all ready to go. So that's my Falcor and a wee swivel, and it's a slider, slides up and down. They're junkie jigs. This is a 100 gram one, quite a heavy one. Might catch a kingfish on that. That's the Sonic, it's about a 60. And I've got some spare hooks and stuff, and a wee plastic box. Because I'm a messy person, I'm not very tidy. If you follow me, you'll know that. I'm shocking. I don't manage myself very well at all, but I manage okay. I used to have a manager when I was an entertainer in Europe, and by God, she was great. Her name was Anka. I used to call her Punky. Unky, Punky, these names evolve, and she was from East Germany, and just when the wall had come down and she came over to Germany she came over from east to the west, and everything was so new and exciting to her. They got one banana a year. Big old blowfly in my kitchen. Mate, you shouldn't be in here. Oh shit, I need to get some fly spray in here. Anyway, get back to the story. So, they would get from Cuba a banana once a year. That was their treat. That fly's going to piss me off. Just trying to enjoy my coffee and bloody old blowfly comes along. Let me tell a story, fuck yeah. So, I'll have to start again, sorry. I'm like thinking to the point now, do I go out or does he go out? One of us has got to go out. Let's kill that bastard, eh? I need a fly spot. Oh, there he goes, right there. If I could just open a window and you could fly it and get through the story. Anyway, she really loved everything in life because she came from pretty much communist. I guess you could say the East was communist. They had a big wall, kept them in. And things in life were pretty hard. She said every family in her little community where she lived in Finsterwalde, they kept a pig. And that pig would be something that would sustain them. They would feed it, and then when they'd kill it, the whole village would go, he's just gone out the window. Don't come back in. He's gone, we lost him. Cool, that felt good. And that pig would be fattened with all their scraps. Because you don't need a lot of space for a pig. A pig can live in a tiny place. A pig can have a little enclosure, and so long as it gets a bit of sun and it can keep itself dry, away from the rain, walk around it, pigs can be pretty content. I had a pig I think Piggy P lasted 13 years. So, they'd have this pig, and after about a year they'd kill it, and all the neighbours would come round. It would be a joint thing that everybody would do. These people were poor, they had very little, and every part of that pig got used. So the first thing they would do is they'd bleed it. They wouldn't stick it. What would they do? She told me and I forget. There was a method where they'd bleed it to death. I don't believe they cut its throat. The pig would just slowly go to sleep. Not a bad death. The blood pressure would go down as the blood ran out, and eventually it would just go to sleep. I mean, it wouldn't be nice, but there's worse deaths than that. So anyway, they'd take all that blood and they make into black pudding. And they would use the skin. I mean, crackling's the best part of the pig, I think, anyway. They'd use every internal organ. They'd use all the guts to make sausages, not the actual gut content, but the skin of the gut, the intestine. They'd have the brains, the pig's cheeks. And I think today about all the pigs that I've killed as a pig hunter and how much wastage there is. And this is what happens when you have abundance. You just don't take things, well, you take things for granted. So here's a village where people are pretty poor and everything is so precious. So that banana she'd get once a year, and it's really embarrassing, but when she came to the West, I bought her a banana, and she was so excited about it, but then what was really odd was how she ate it. She ate it like an ice block, and you can imagine what that looks like. I said, what are you doing with that banana? She said, oh, making it last. I said, but you don't eat bananas like that. She said, well, you do in the East. And they would get a banana at Christmas time, and they would like suck it like an ice block and make it last all day, or try as long as they could. That was a treat. Over here in the West, bananas, well, we go to the shop and buy a whole bunch and eat them in a day if you want to. Point being is that she just was so grateful about everything. We travelled all around Europe, well, mostly in Germany. She was my manager. She started off as one of the many women I met over there, but I ended up really falling for her, and she managed me so well. She came back to New Zealand, and while I was back in Europe, through no fault of hers, she left me. More fault of mine, because I wasn't particularly... How was I? I was fucking shocking. I was a womanizer. I was a drinker. I was everything that's not nice about a person. Because I was so big in my field over there and doing so successful, my ego took over, and I became... When I look back at the person I was and how I become through my success, I'd actually become not a nice person. I guess I was almost, I wouldn't say a narcissist, but everything was about consuming. Get as much powder up your nose, as much whiskey as you can drink, as many women as you can sleep with. And I was excessive to I worked every day. I did 3,159 concerts in the 13 years I was working in Germany. Another fly came in. Oh, bugger it. So, eventually she cottoned on to me, and she married a guy called John, who was an architect, and they lived in Waikanae, and they're still there to this day, and she's a wonderful mum to her kids, and we're still good friends. We broke up after a lot of years together, and she's still one of my closest friends today, and I still call her Punky. She was born on the 1st of April, so I wrote her a song. It goes, you were born on the first day of April. You came from the east to the west. Something, I forget how it goes now. Yeah, she was so cool. She was very, very important, and we shared a great time, because part of the way I made my living over there was I'd play in these great big venues, and small ones too. There was a lot of Irish pubs in Germany, and she'd go around with a tambourine, and she was blonde and beautiful, still is, and she'd take the tambourine round, and she'd ask people in German, do you have a small bit of money for the musician tonight? So they put tips in there, and on top of that, the bar would pay me a fee. So you go playing for tips, but sometimes those tips, sometimes there'd be over 1,000 people in the venue, and each person's putting in an average of a couple of marks. That could be $2,000 in a good night. So the money was actually really good. Oh, that coffee that Chloe sends me from Australia, from the Swart Cafe, is just to die for. This is how my morning starts. I don't quite know where I'm going with this morning, but I woke up feeling pretty good, and I thought, well, I'll check into the Bro Check Club, because it's one place that I feel I don't have to do anything but other than be myself. Well, I'm like that on my other channel too, but here I don't feel I've got to, if I go fishing, I've got to produce a fish. If I go hunting, I've got to produce a deer or a pig. Here I can sit back with a coffee and chew the fat with you guys, and for the best part, most of you come along for the ride. I can imagine it gets pretty boring too, but overall, it's like having a friend to talk to in the morning while I'm having a coffee. And now I've come out the other end of this grief that I've been going through, losing my dog. It's nice to be back into life again and enjoy the simple things like a coffee and a talk with you guys. And if any of you are going through that grieving process right now, all I'll say is keep on going through it. No shortcuts. just go through the process, and then you come out eventually. I think with dogs and pets it happens a bit faster. We kind of give ourselves permission to go through it faster somehow. It's incredibly painful, but then we just look back with good memories. He was a lovely boy. I do miss him. Big old head, but I'm pleased he's not suffering anymore. I'm pleased he's at rest. He was a great dog, and I've got a really exciting mission. I'm going to call it the Bruno Trail. I'm going to go over what he did with the cart. We did a cart. I made a cart for him that he could tow, and you could conceal a 22 firearm in it. And when I say conceal, it sounds like we're going to do a robbery or something, just so it's not in public view. And fishing rod, and we went on the road for 5 days. That's on my other channel, and it was a really, really good experience. I'm going to redo that again with my dog Bigsy. I'll post it up on my Patreon first, and if it goes well, I'm sure it will go well, but I'll post it there, and patrons get everything first because they look after me. They keep me going. On that note, actually, this channel is about to hit 1,000 subscribers. And when it does, that means that we get some revenue back. And I'm going to use that revenue for men's health. I'm going to place everything in a separate account. I'm going to treat it like a separate business. And I'm going to put it aside. And I'm going to utilize it to, even if it just helps one young man, that's going to be really worthwhile. Because I can afford to do that. I live alone now. My kids aren't at home. Well, I still look after them, but I've got those resources. So with that there, I'm gonna keep it separate, and we'll do something different, a little bit different to what we do on the Clay Tool Storage channel. There we take them out hunting and fishing, and they come and stay here. We've got accommodations. We're now set up with them with those funds, but I want to do something different. I've got so many young men that contact me, and I can't possibly help them all, but it's not so much just the resources important as my own time. Having that time to put into them, it takes hours and hours, and it doesn't always work out either. But for the best part, it does. The last guy that left me here, Ethan, now is clean. He's straight. One of the big things I've helped a lot of people with is diet. And it can be painful talking about diet because nobody wants to hear about it. And nobody wants to give up stuff. But the thing about the keto diet, which is so helpful to your health, is it's actually not a difficult diet to give up. This morning, the coffee I'm having has only got a tablespoon of cream in. That way I don't break my fast. I'm still in a fasted state after I've drunk it. When I have my first real coffee of the day, that's the one with cream, I only have 2 a day normally, sometimes only 1. But when I break my fast properly, I'll make it half cream, and it'll be a real nice coffee. This is good too because it's the morning. But anyway, the keto diet will help you in so many ways, and it's not as hard as you think. In fact, when you get through the first 5 to 6 days, after you're over that, it's actually better because food tastes better. Everything tastes a lot sweeter. You don't have any sugar on that diet. You eliminate anything with sugar in it, refined carbohydrates, and what you're left over with is things like steak, bacon, lots of leafy green vegetables, the dark ones, a little bit of fruit, but not the normal fruit. The only sort of fruit I would eat is berries, and not too many because they have some sugar and they will knock you out of ketosis, but you get a lot of nutrients. I mean, blueberries are my favourite. They're my go-to. Such a great antioxidant, such a great superfood, fun to eat, tastes good. And I always pour cream over mine and have them with nuts, and that gives you this sort of dessert. But my main meal, which is I only eat once a day, although lately I've been bringing it back up to 2, just to get my weight up because I have to keep an eye on my weight. That's the thing with the keto diet, you will lose weight on it, and that's, to some people that's great, but to me it's a struggle because I'm too skinny, and through bad health a couple of years ago I lost a lot of weight. Here's the thing with the keto diet is you will find your moods change. You'll find you deal with stuff, there's a lot more clarity. You'll find that you feel lighter. If you suffer anxiety or depression, I'm not saying it will get rid of it, but you'll deal with it a lot better. Having said that, I know a lot of people that are on the keto diet now. Selwyn, that follows me, suffered terrible anxiety and depression. gone. He's also 25 kilogram lighter, and looks like he's a beast of a man now. He's actually looks like he's gone from sort of quite fat. Sorry if you're watching this out, but you were, mate. You were fat, and now he's just looks strong. He's a big man. He's a fisherman, and one of my big supporters. Been very, very helpful to me. I've actually gone up and stayed with him. I took him a puppy up a year ago before this COVID shit, and spent time with him. And that was where I spent time talking about the keto diet, and he's been on it ever since. One of many, many men. Got a letter yesterday from a bloke, forget your name, buddy, but if you're watching this, he wrote to thank me. He's lost over 50 kg. Lost over 50 kg. And his whole life has changed. So you do lose weight on it, but more importantly, I don't think that losing weight should be the gain or the main objective. I think the main objective should be that your health gets better, and that's what you have to think about. And so by controlling your insulin, lowering your insulin is a hormone that shuttles glucose into your muscles, and it's really important. But the trouble is, the more stuff you eat with sugar and refined carbohydrates, the more insulin resistant you eventually become, and eventually you become diabetes or diabetic type 2. It's what you'll end up. A very close friend of mine who I have regular contact with almost every day. He's New Zealand's best GP this year, voted, Glenn Davies of the Taupo Medical Centre. He won that prestigious award by treating all of his patients using the keto diet, and also exercise, sleep and mindset, but mostly the keto diet, to the point now he goes around all the hospitals around New Zealand and talks to their dietitians, to their doctors, about what is a successful way to treat diabetes type 2. But there's a whole lot of other things that it treats as well. And in your life, you will only reap the gains. It's not a fad diet. It's pretty much doing what we used to do. People say, oh, these fad diets. It's not. It's actually something that we evolved having. We didn't evolve being able to go to a fridge and eat whenever we're hungry, or go to a drawer and pull out a Tupperware container or a plastic bag full of nuts. We didn't evolve like that. We evolved by hunting, gathering, foraging, looking for food. We would walk around the forest, maybe gathering some mushrooms or some berries, and it's hard work. I got a video on my other channel where for one day I went about making a meal from everything in the forest. I'll place my phone here so I can talk to you guys without holding it and enjoy my coffee. So for one day I went everywhere to get a meal, and that meal had wild pork, so I killed a pig, had berries, had passion fruit, had kawakawa, it had watercress, had everything for a day. But it took me the entire day, and I was exhausted by the end of the day, to do all that just for one meal. And it was really interesting for me to do that, because it taught me about just how hard it must have been to get it before we had this modern technology we've got today. It took every second of the day and all of my physical energy. That's how we used to live. And of course, when we go for a hunt, we wouldn't necessarily catch a pig or a deer. We'd often miss out, then we go hungry. But we didn't die. Our bodies would then go into a state of autophagy, where it start burning up all the cells, the rogue cells, and give us a clean out. But of course, we also would go into a state of ketosis, where we're burning our fat as our fuel. And that's how we used to fuel ourselves most of the time. Because most of the time, we were in a fasted state. We weren't regularly always eating 3 meals a day, that's for sure. There were times where we have lots of food, we'd get a good kill, or we'd harvest a crop. Back before we even grew crops, we took everything from the wild, and the food that we harvested, the bananas back then looked a lot different to what they are today. We've genetically modified a lot of food to make it more palatable, but we've also increased the sugar content. We now grow apples and fruit with a much higher sugar content than naturally it was, because that appeals to us, but it's actually not good for us. And also, of course, fruit would be something you'd only have in a very short time of the year. You'd have a fruit probably the beginning of autumn, when it's all on the trees, I guess, or the end of summer. Certain berries and things would grow through the year, but the majority of it was in a say maybe a 3-month period. and then you would go out of ketosis and you would eat lots of sugar and you would put on fat reserves, and that would see you through the winter and you'd burn that. That was your fuel. So we've changed and evolved very rapidly, very differently, very quickly, and it hasn't done us well. The thing that's made us live longer is our technology with pharmaceutical products. And some of those are also detrimental to our health too. A lot of them have adverse effects, as we know. So getting yourself on a keto diet sort of mimics a little bit how the human body has been acting for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But of course, on top of that, you've got the advantage of having pharmaceutical products that can help you, can keep you alive longer. And things like enzymes like CoQ10, which your body stops producing when you get to 40. You can take that as a pill form, and that will keep your heart going stronger for years. Or things like all of the vitamin groups that you can eat in a pill, which are going to ensure vitamin D if you're not getting enough sun, vitamin C if you're not getting enough citrus or enough vegetables with vitamin C. All the things can be mimicked synthetically, and they will keep you going a bit longer. But the keto diet really gets back to that primitive way that our bodies evolved and what our bodies are used to doing. And that's a natural thing. That's a good thing. So it's not really a fad diet. It's something we've always done. What really is a fad diet is how we eat today. In the last 30 years, it all changed about 1970 when we started mass producing things like vegetable oil. So bad for you. Any of those oils that are made from seed are so bad for you. They are not, your body doesn't process them like it should. They're basically an industrial oil that's been given a sort of a facelift to look good and smell good, but actually your body doesn't do well by them. You're much better to cook with a natural oil, something like an animal fat, and people go, nah, not good for your heart. Actually, that's not true. Cholesterol now is not considered to be the problem as it once was for many years, because cholesterol is not the driving problem. Oh yes, if you have a high saturated fat, you're measured, that's not good, but that will come more from refined carbohydrates and sugar. And that's really interesting. I've learnt that from the good Dr. Glenn Davies. So we could really benefit a lot by being on a ketogenic diet. And if you want to explore this more, don't listen to me. Go to Dr. Eric Berg on YouTube. 5 million subscribers and just climbing all the time, because he puts all the science below and explains why it's so good for you. You can cure heart disease. You can cure just about anything. Cancer, everything comes from inflammation. All disease, most disease at least, comes from inflammation. And sugar would be the biggest driver of inflammation. I won't talk too much about it because it gets a bit boring, but have a look at it and I can assure you that you will feel better for it. Your life will be better on physical level and an emotional and mental level. It will increase your quality of life. Yes, it's hard at the beginning, like anything, because your body's got to readapt to learn to burn fat as a fuel and not carbohydrate. If you want any questions, ask me and I'll go through it. We're having a real chin wag about everything this morning. I've been going for 23 minutes. My coffee will be getting cold. I have to go and buy some electric fence gear, some more. I'm going to change the paddock for the sheep this morning, shift them around. They've been in a dry paddock for a while because they're scouring a bit because the fresh spring grass was a bit much. So I've been giving them, actually feeding them a few sheep pellets and got them in a paddock with very little bit of grass, because they just had too much that fresh grass and they suddenly had scoured and shit everywhere. I was going to kill one and for eating, but my dog Bigsy caught a deer and I've given probably half the meat away and the other half I've been eating, but also I'm fishing a lot right now, so I really don't need to kill that sheep. And that's the thing, I only kill when I need meat. I like to have things reasonably fresh. As far as fish goes, fish always fresh unless I'm doing sashimi, and then it's kahawai, which I'll leave up to 3 days in the fridge. Right now I've got one that's this big. I'm not joking, I didn't catch it. I was out fishing and 2 young guys out in a boat, just by coincidence met them, and they would one of them, his name is Harvey, I think. I'm not getting that quite right, but the young guy taken out pig hunting, and he got his first pig with me, and he recognised me, Clay, and he held up this big fish, And do you want it? And I said, well, you keep it, you eat it. He goes, no, I don't know how to cut it up. And I said, well, I can show you, I'll teach you how to do it. Come on the beach. He says, no, we've got lots of snapper that we're eating right now. His dad had been out fishing. I said, well, what are you going to do with it? He goes, oh, fish bait? And I said, no, give it to me. It's too good for bait. You can use squid for that. And so he gave it to me, and it's that big. So I'll sashimi that today. So I'm leaving in the fridge for probably 3 days, and it's now day 3. That helps the oil to solidify through the fish, and I'll eat that completely raw. I'll take the fillets off. I've already scaled it and gutted it, so it's taking the gills out, so it's just in there. And you leave that fish to sit for 3 days, and it helps the oil go right through the whole fish. These guys didn't bleed it, and being a Kauai, I'll have a bit of red meat, so I'll chop that out. Actually, I don't mind it, to be honest. And I'll have it with my own wasabi out of the garden, a little bit of soy sauce, and that'll be my protein for the day. And my good fats will be some nuts, an avocado. There's actually quite a lot of oil in that fish in itself. And I have some leafy green vegetables, and then my dessert will probably be some blueberries with some cream. And that'll be my food for the day, and my coffee. Gonna scoff this down. Bit of a yak, bit of a talk. A slightly different video this morning, and I thought I'd get up by just being myself and not trying to actually bring anything, a theme or anything to the table, and see how it went as an experiment. So if you're still watching to the end, comment below so I know that this has actually been a good idea. And if you don't comment, I'll know by the amount of comments. If there's not a comment at the end, I won't do this again, because I'll realise that it was boring and you'd faded off before we got to the end of the video. And that's my way of knowing, and that's why I've saved it to the end of the video to say this, to find out, because I've got a funny feeling this is not going to work. But this is a channel where we can try anything, we can do anything, and we're all about trying to add quality to each other's lives and find solutions for problems, and help is the main thing, making our lives better. That was it today. Punch the subscribe button, because we're nearly at 1,000 subscribers, and when we do, we can go live and do live chats, and that's going to be fun. Plus, we get to keep the revenue from the ads that YouTube are putting on there. I've got no control over that until that I've got that 1,000 subscribers, and then that changes everything. The first 1,000 subscribers is always hard to get on any YouTube channel, and to be honest, this one here has been a joint effort, not by me, but by a lot of you that have also made videos. And on that note, Crispy has a video which I still haven't posted up, where I think he's eating hoo-hoo grubs, and I've just got to find that and post it, because I've just got lost in all the stuff. As I said at the very beginning of this video, I'm shocking at managing myself. That's where I rely a little bit on you guys. Punch out the day. I'm going to finish my coffee. Go steady, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for having me. See you later.
So she cries to the moon. Slowly you exit the room. Only your heart was to blame. And this is a stupid game, still you had to play. Only your heart was to blame. Temptation cuts through, it'll be the death of you. Only your heart was to blame. Could never be true, these human frailties are nothing new.